Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I've had this Ikea bookshelf for a few years and it's held random objects like books and records. But I felt like with all the projects I've done over the past year, I needed a proper Star Wars display case. So let's get to hacking. I started with a basic design in Fusion 360, and with the measurements in hand, it was time to start hacking. And this is where we encountered our first problem: deleted footage. Cue the dramatic reenactment. Using a multi-tool, I cut openings in the side of the shelf and was able to remove the cardboard honeycomb structure from inside to make room for the panels and lights. After that, it was a quick scuffing up of the surface to help with paint adhesion, and then it was primed and painted with a medium gray enamel spray paint. Once the paint had a few days to dry, it was time to install some cool white LED strip lights. I drilled 2 small holes on the back side of the unit to pass the cord through and began sticking the lights along the inside edge of the shelf. Along the way, I knew I wanted to have some blinking lights, so with my soldering iron and some pre-wired LEDs, I tinned the terminals and soldered the LEDs to the strip light so they'd all run on the same power supply. A bit of hot glue was applied to ensure the strip lights would have a good bond, since the adhesive backing can fail over time, and then it was just a matter of sticking the rest of the strip light to the inside of the shelf and cutting off the excess. With the LEDs in place, it was time to assemble the first panel. These panels were laser cut by a local shop and just needed to have the acrylic glued to them before they could be installed. So with a bit of measuring and some CA glue, I was ready to put them in. Before closing up the first panel, I added in some hot glue to keep the cord flat against the back wall so its silhouette wouldn't be visible in the acrylic panel, and it would act as a bit of a strain relief. Then it was time to glue and screw the panel in place. Of course, I couldn't use standard screws, so these are star head screws, which look a bit more Star Wars-y. Next up is the addition of some greeblies to help fill the space between the acrylic panels. These were made with MDF and a combination of resin-printed 3D parts that I found online and some that I modeled specifically for the build. They were glued to the shelf and allowed to dry before I drilled out one of the parts to make room for our first flashing LED light. I added in a bit of CA glue to secure the bulb and some hot glue to keep the wires in place, and this panel was done. Then I mounted the final panel, set the bookcase on its feet, and glued on another row of greeblies, this time with some fake buttons and a red plastic cabochon to help give the second LED a bit more glow. The last thing to tackle was cord management. My original idea was to use cable wrap to give it a more industrial look, but it wasn't cooperating. So instead, I designed these small cord port greeblies to hide the holes and used a few cable clips. And with that, it was done. Now that's what I call a proper Star Wars display case. And while it may not be perfect, it is a huge improvement over what used to house all of my props, so I'm gonna count that as a win, right? Sure. A special thank you to Mrs. Van Oaks for her participation in this week's video, and thank you to you for watching, liking, and subscribing to the channel, and if you haven't already, be sure to do so, and most importantly, go make something.